most traders realize that stock charts reflect the collective mind of everyone involved in the market. So in other words, the various patterns that are exhibited on a stock chart is a window into the soul, if you will, of all the people and all the money involved. A simple example, or one of the simplest examples, is the emotions of greed and fear, which in my opinion are the two strongest components in the gyrations of the market. Now I'm circling greed there on the left, and the reason I know there's greed is because the volume increases substantially and the price moves higher. That means that people are going to want in, and thus a bandwagon effect is created and the stock soars. That's for quite a long period of time. This is a daily chart. Each one of those little bars is one day. Now over here you have fear. How do I know that? Well, because the volume is 6-7 times the normal, and it's to the downside. You see it's red. That indicates great fear. Everyone's going to want out, and sure enough the stock plummets for days and days. Now you could have predicted both of those by just looking at that action, price and volume action. Here's another example. There's greed there, and the reason we know it's greed is because the volume goes almost double of its norm and the price moves higher, so you get the bandwagon effect and the stock soars. Right there you get super high downside volume, and people want out, they exit, and the stock plummets. You could have predicted both of those events by a simple price-volume relationship. Here's another example, and this one is the same chart we just saw, but this is a much narrower view. This is the 60-minute version of that same period where that stock plummeted. So each bar is 60 minutes. Right there is the plummet when it fell. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The stock reverses during the day and climbs higher for many hours. It would have been nice to know when it was going to do that, right? Well, that's where technical analysis can really help. One such indicator that traders like to use is a moving average. That's that yellow line that goes snaking through this chart. It is said that when the price falls below this moving average, or especially when it falls substantially, that's an indicator of direction. In this case, being below the average, an indicator to the downside. And boy, did it. But now notice that as soon as the stock crosses the other direction, it flies to the upside. Now, this is a really simple example, but this is the gist of technical analysis, is to predict direction by using these various tools. Another indicator, which is one of my favorites, is called the MACD histogram. Now the MACD histogram is nice because it gives you a picture representation of direction. And for example, the histogram works like this. If it gets increasingly red, that indicates downside momentum. If it gets less and less red, or even turns green, that's upside momentum. Notice that the price of the stock, which I'm showing there, follows suit. MACD histogram can be very powerful if used correctly, and I'm going to show you how it would be used correctly in this example. This is a chart of a stock called TRN. The MACD histogram shown there, I'm showing every place where the green histogram, the green bars, get increasingly stronger, which would indicate a good setup, a good entry point to buy the stock. Right there you would have done extremely well. For about a week the stock goes up and up and up. Same thing there, and that would be a huge win there. But that looks like almost a month. There you get it again. Notice it's only when the histogram goes green do you want to enter, and you exit when it stops being like that, basically. Anyhow, you would have had all these wins just about every single time. I'm looking at 100% win ratio here. In other words, 100% of the time you entered, you gained, and you gained well, using the MACD histogram. Now, here's the deal. A new trader discovers a few indicators, such as this one, and assumes the Holy Grail has been found. I mean, we just looked at 100% win, right? And so it's like, woohoo! I have found it, eureka! Except there's one slight problem. Let's look at another stock. Same time period, same MACD histogram. This one is Twitter, which I'm sure a lot of people trade all over the place. Now, here's the deal. Right there I have circled every single place where the histogram goes stronger green. Right there, your entry point, you would have lost. You would have been wiped out. Right there, you would have lost substantially. Now, right there, you would have gained for a few days, then you would have gotten killed if you would have held. You would have lost right out of the gate on that one. That one there, you would have actually done okay for about a month. That one, you would have gotten hammered. And on that one, it would have been flat, at least as far as this chart goes. Overall, on this stock, and you applied the same exact indicator, you would have lost heavily. So TRN wins big, TWTR loses big. Same indicator, same strategy, and boy does this present a problem, especially to new traders, because they think it doesn't work. Well, MACD histogram's a piece of crap, doesn't work. And that's the technical analysis trap. This is, by the way, this is one reason why a lot of people on Wall Street think technical analysis is mumbo jumbo, because of this sort of problem. And so the trader is puzzled. Which indicator is best? He tries this one and that one, and all of them work sometimes, and sometimes they don't, and he gets confused. So he uses more and more indicators. They're all studied. None work across all stocks. This leads to what I call spiderweb charts, very complicated setups with lines all over the place. It leads to endless filters and more setups. And the thing is, the entire chart, single chart websites are dedicated to single indicators. So in other words, there's whole sites that do nothing but show you an indicator that's their favorite, and they apply it to every stock and say this is the way to trade. There's even I even saw a site the other day called thebullflag.com or something like that, where that's all it did is one little setup called the bull flag, and it applies it everywhere. But as I showed you, those two stocks, just using one indicator as an example, it doesn't work. Thus, we invented something called track trading. You won't see anything quite like this anywhere. I could almost guarantee that. Track trading works on the following theory. This is the way not to do it. To take an indicator, such as a MACD histogram or moving average or whatever, and apply it to every stock. You can't do that. That's not the way to do it, as we showed in those two stock examples. Instead, track trading works like this. It takes a stock and it applies that to all popular indicators to see which one works. Now, I'm just making this up, kind of, but this is what it would look like, something like this. It applies to all these indicators, and the fourth one here works best as far as its historical recent data. So I would use that indicator for that stock, and I would do very well with it. Just as I showed you that MACD histogram with TRN, if that were the case here, I would do really well. I don't know how simple you can get, but I also don't know how you can get any more powerful than this. I'm going to repeat this because it's so key. All other systems apply an indicator filter, etc. to all stocks. That would be in back testing, forward testing, whatever. That's how they do it. Since all stocks do not respond favorably to the indicator, you have false positives. Track trading applies a single stock to all indicators to determine the best one for that stock. You see. And this is all done for you. It figures all this out behind the scene at night, in the weekend, and in real time. Yes, this whole thing is in real time. The trader can then track his or her favorite stocks for maximum gains. And like I said, it's all real time, and all you got to do is download it and install and play around with it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's more videos. Please watch the next one where I demo the actual product live.